Convene at 10:09 a.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
I would love to. Commissioners Cavell?
Here.
Charles?
Present.
Gershenson? Here. Gingell? Here. Hoffman?
Here.
Jackson? Here. Joliet?
Here.
Kokendorfer?
Here.
Kowal? Here. Kuhn?
Here.
Long?
Here.
Lubes? Here. Markham? Here. McGilvray?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
Moss?
Here.
Nelson? Come back here. Powell? Here. Spiz?
Present.
Weipert? Here. Woodward?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now I will recognize the Honorable Commissioner William Miller to lead the invocation this evening, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. So I know this is going to sound silly, but if everybody could raise their hand, put it down, raise their hand, put it down. All right, I just want to make sure nobody leaves this room saying Commissioner Miller didn't move them. So I can feel there's some almost folks in here, almost destroyed, almost lost their mind, almost faded, almost collapsed, almost died, and just in the nick of time, you found out. Remember, God has your tomorrow. And when you doubt God, in layman's terms, he says, shut up, I got you. And better days are ahead. So I'll close in this prayer. This is a famous prayer. In Jesus' name, let us pray. Father, please let us walk through the bad times as well as the good. May we be heard and understood from the suburbs to the hood. May you judge us by our hearts and not by our mistakes, and see that we get a breakthrough, however long it takes. May you fill the void in our souls, that we lay our fears to rest. Cause there in no way we live in Jesus if we're living in the flesh. So I pray that you allow our spirits to be born, grow strong, move on, know right from wrong. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15, do not love the world or anything in the world. And we know that what that means. But listen, we know the distance between away from fire and how to keep missing. That doesn't mean we'll listen. Lord, you take care of fools and babies. You teach women how to honor their men, and men respect their ladies. But lately, so many of us have gone astray, doing wrong for so long that we've forgotten the way. Please bring us back home. Instill us in the world, which is our backbone. We're just children, acting grown. There's so much that we've entitled to, yet we receive little. Because in the time of spiritual warfare, we're comfortable in the middle. So I pray you open our eyes, give us anointing to recognize the devil and his lies. If we keep our actions wise and our prayers sincere, our heads to the sky, you will diminish our fears. In Jesus' mighty name, we pray. Amen. Amen. That was from the great late DMX. Thank you.
Is this the Freemason Bible?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner, and let it be said that I was moved. Next up, we got approval of the minutes. Minutes dated September 1, 2022. Is there a motion moved by Commissioner Long, seconded by Commissioner Markham? Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect the minutes are adopted unanimously. This will now move to approval of the agenda, and I'll recognize Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to request waiver of Rule 3 for Finance Item 10F, Board of Commissioners Special Project, Board of Commissioners Special Project, Pontiac Transportation Museum, and Public Health and Safety Items 12G, which is a grant acceptance with the State of Michigan for fiscal years 2023, Automobile Theft Prevention Authority, Item 12H, which is Public Services Children's Village Interlocal Agreement, updating the per diem amount for the MDHSS for shelter care foster services, and Item 12I, which is grant acceptance with the Michigan Health and Human Services Department fiscal year 2023, raise the age These resolutions were taken up immediately prior to this board's meeting.
Great. And those, so moved by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Joliet. As mentioned, like those items that Commissioner Nelson's reference was taken up by Public Health and Safety and Finance just prior to this board meeting. Also, it's been requested, and we've moved an item from the consent agenda to the regular agenda, and it will appear as one second. Item, excuse me one second. Item F. Yeah, it'll be item F under the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee on the regular agenda. Looking at the regular agenda. All right. Any further discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that the agenda is approved unanimously. Next, we'll move to communications, and I'll call on the clerk to see if we have any communications. I believe we have one.
We have two.
We have two.
Actually. The first, you received an ARPA project update for the Clinton River Trail safety and maintenance improvements, including what the project progress has been, which from April to July of 2022, which includes trail surface grading, pavement installation, removing and replacing bollards, painting, list goes on. Looking to, in fall of 22, install signage and restoration, and early 23, installing a signal pole, mast arm, controller cabinet, wiring, push-button pedestals for the Hawk Beacon at Orchard Lake Road. There's maps and everything else for the Clinton River Trail safety program that will be on file. And the second communication is from the Village of Lake Orion in regards to a public hearing, which will be held Monday, October 10th at 7:30 in the Village of Lake Orion Council Chambers. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public comments on application for commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate submitted by West Village 55 LC for the property located at 55 West Elizabeth Street. And people are, of course, it's a public meeting, and people are welcome to attend that.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to receive those two communications? Moved by McGilvery, seconded by Hoffman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving the communication say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. I'll let the record reflect that the communications are received unanimously. Next up, this will bring us to the first public comment of tonight's meeting. This is the opportunity for the members of the public to address the board on any items on the consent or regular agenda. Please, I have a number of people who signed up, and so I will ask the, I'll call on you, and if you could come to the podium, at the microphone at the back of the auditorium, state your name, community of resident, and please keep your comments directed to the items. There is a second public comment to speak on any other topic unrelated to the agenda this morning. If there, I ask that you direct your comments to me, the chair, not to individual commissioners. And I will start with Mr. John, is it Buell? Yeah, Mr. John Buell, who's right there. Welcome, sir.
Morning. It has come to my attention that you guys gave some money to the World Economic Forum. How many of you are members of the World Economic Forum? Raise your hands. Nobody. Why would you give money to the World Economic Forum?
Sir, the World Economic Forum is not on the agenda. So
That's all right. Your behavior is on the agenda.
Pardon?
Your behaviors are on the
Okay,
agenda.
sir, I'm going to move to the next person unless you want to speak to items on the agenda. There is a time for
I'm
public
getting
comment to
to it.
speak to any item off the agenda.
All right.
All right?
Last time I was here, I told you guys to approve us for a Second Amendment sanctuary county.
Okay, sir, this is not on the agenda as well, so if you
All
have
right,
anything...
well, I haven't heard that you did, so...
Excuse me, sir.
No, excuse
our
me,
rules,
sir.
Our rules are that this public comment is to speak on topics of this agenda. There will be
Okay,
time
I'm
for you to
getting
speak
to
on
that.
any other...
I'm getting to that.
Please get to that.
The virus is a plandemic. A plandemic. It
Okay,
was
sir.
planned for years.
Please sit down.
Excuse me?
I will call you for the time. You clearly are not speaking to items on the agenda.
Look, I got to go to work. Right now, there's a
I
gravel
understand.
train
There are a
out
lot
there
of
that's
people
gotta
that are
go. I
waiting
don't
here,
care
sir.
what you think, sir.
Okay, sir,
This is our meeting of the
Deputies,
people,
please
by
escort
the
the gentleman
people,
to his
for the
seat,
people.
or
12B item, 12B, item 12B.
What are you doing?
Sir, you're not going to disrupt these proceedings. We have people who are here to speak.
Tell me you'd like to speak on 12B.
I would like to speak on 12B.
Oh, all right, sir. I mean, this is the last chance. Or you'll come to the second public comment. 12B.
Comprehensive agreement covers all the healthcare.
You're speaking to?
I'm speaking to the fact that this is a pandemic. This virus is a joke, and the vaccines is an extermination vaccine. It was created in 2003.
Sir, what are you exactly speaking about? 12B. No, absolutely. Excuse me.
What I'm
It seems like
speaking
you want to
about is
address a
you're
lot of
following
topics, and I want to
instructions,
give you the
sir.
time to do that. There's an appropriate time to do that.
I don't have time to wait all day.
I'm
I
sorry,
have a
sir. You are
truck to
taking up
conduct
other people's
commercial
time who are
business.
also waiting. So if either speak to items on the agenda, or you'll have to wait for the public
Are we
comment
not
with the-
talking about public health in 12B? All right then. The vaccine is poison. That's a public health issue.
12B is a grant with the Health and Human Service Comprehensive Agreement. We are not discussing about the vaccine.
I'm telling you, don't give them no money. That's
We're
what
not
I'm telling
giving-
you.
It's a grant that we're getting money from
You're
the state of
getting
Michigan.
money.
From the state of Michigan.
From the and where did they get the money from? Right here, out of this pocket.
Excuse me.
You can clear the room.
Here's what's going to happen. You're going to immediately order the sheriff to seize all vaccines in the county. You're going
Okay,
to
sir,
tell the
you're
county
not
health
speaking to any item on the
department
agenda.
to cease all
Please sit down.
vaccinations.
Sit down and speak at the second public comment, or...
I can't wait. I've been here
Okay,
for 2
thank
hours
you.
already.
Thank you, sir.
Next time I
Thank
come
you.
back, I
Thank
will
you,
have
sir.
U.S. Marshals
Thank you.
in tow.
Thank you. All right. Next up, I've got Pauline Smith.
Okay, can you hear me?
Welcome.
Pauline Smith, White Lake. And oh my God, I've got to follow that, and I've never been here before.
Welcome.
Thank you. This is a real quick hip hooray for the proposed net zero sustainability funding and new staff positions. Oakland County has a number of helpful programs that not every other county has. Lately, it seems to me, there's been an even better job of communicating what you do for us. So I've become very aware of you. But out of all of your accomplishments, if you don't get this one right, what good will all the others have been? So thank you very much for leading the way on this, and thanks for making this a great place to live.
Thank you very much. Next up, I've got Woody Guntina.
Good morning, Commissioners. Woody Gontina, I live in Royal Oak. I'm here representing the Royal Oak Environmental Advisory Board as its Vice Chair. I'm here today to speak about the budget and specifically the proposed funding for sustainability and climate action resources. Earlier this year in May, Royal Oak approved its first sustainability and climate action plan. The Environmental Advisory Board is comprised of 11 appointed volunteer residents, and the majority of the Royal Oak plan was completed by the passion and dedication of these expert resident volunteers. But not every city, village, and township is fortunate enough to have a board to push environmental planning and policy. While Royal Oak is a leader in this effort and wants to help our fellow CVTs, we are also limited in capacity to assist other communities while also planning and implementing in Royal Oak. From our work, it became clear that regional collaboration and dedicated resources were among the fundamental elements required for success, not only in Royal Oak, but for all of Oakland County. Through a regional approach and collaboration, we will be able to leverage local resources, seek the unprecedented state and federal grant funding, and advocate for much-needed policy changes. Understanding how government at every level is challenged for resources, I believe the county is moving in the right direction with respect to sustainability. The establishment of an environmental sustainability officer demonstrates the county's first step in a commitment that we all must make to address climate change. The proposed funding that you will hopefully act positively on today will provide the dedicated resources needed for the county to be successful with its sustainability goals. Several Oakland County communities have either completed or are exploring creating their own sustainability plans. I look forward to the county's ability to coalesce all the good work and help provide guidance to all communities within Oakland County. We support this commission and the funding of additional staff capacity and resources for producing a climate action plan and committing to long-term sustainability. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Fred Miller. I live in Pleasant Ridge, and I'm also here speaking in favor of those aspects of the budget that improve the sustainability office and officers' ability to guide the county in the direction of sustainability and action on climate change. Watching what's happening around the world really on climate, I know that all of us are again thankful for living in Michigan, but Michigan is not immune to storms and heat waves enhanced and strengthened in their destruction by climate change, not immune to damage to our crops, not immune to damage to our ecosystems and forests and rivers that make this state so wonderful. And not immune to the loss of faith by our young people in the future. And so I think at every level of government, and every level of society, we need to take steps right away to work together to bring us on the path towards curbing and ending climate change and towards adapting to what we cannot stop. And I think that this county has made strides in that direction, has taken initial steps, some small, some larger, and I urge the county to continue on that path in a strengthening manner in coming years to play its role. I think it's good for the economy here. It's good for the belief in our future, and it's good for our county's welfare over the long run. So thank you again.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lena Swerczak, and today I'm representing the Michigan League of Conservation Voters in support of climate investments in the proposed budget. However, this decision also affects me personally as an Oakland County resident from Royal Oak. My family has experienced firsthand the effects of increased flooding, and I know that things will only get worse if we do not pursue coordinated climate action at all levels of government. This additional funding is an investment in my future and the future of everyone who calls Oakland County home. It's not enough to say that we want climate action. We have to fund and plan climate action that meets the scale of the problem. This budget proposal gives the office more funding that is needed to make Oakland County's climate goals a reality by funding more staff to work on sustainability efforts. Climate change is a large and multifaceted issue that requires a team. It cannot be placed on the back of one person. Finally, climate change may be a crisis, but climate action is also an incredible opportunity for us to build a better Oakland County. It's an opportunity for us to improve the air quality in our neighborhoods, the public transportation that can better connect us, our energy reliability, and the quality of the water that we drink. I am grateful for the previous work of the Commission, and I thank you all for the continued investments to meet the climate crisis with the resilience and hope for a better future. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could defer to the founder, one of the founders of the Pontiac Transportation Center, which I spoke on. I spoke at the open comment period for the Finance Committee, and so most of the members were here. So Terry Conley.
Thank you. I'm from Rochester Hills, by the way. And thank you for your consideration of this morning. I'm a 40-year auto industry veteran, so it's not surprising that I'm a car guy that likes the idea of a Pontiac Transportation Museum. But I want to emphasize that this is not just a car guy thing that we're putting together. This is a huge opportunity for economic development, a huge opportunity for STEM outreach to our schools. And it ought to be a huge source of pride for all the citizens of Pontiac and Oakland County, because the history is just amazing. You learn a lot about automotive history in 40 years of the industry. I'll say that the last 2 years I've learned more about what happened in Pontiac than I can believe. It's an astounding legacy that we've got. In fact, all of you ought to come and see it. So one of the things I want to leave you with is there are about 6,000 volunteer hours invested in this museum so far. We're all volunteers. Nobody's getting paid for this yet. So we really appreciate the consideration of public support, because we're getting a lot of private support. And I think it's just got an enormous opportunity for all our citizens to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, and I am Pastor Doug Jones of the Walker Missionary Baptist Church, president of the Oakland County group that's called the Greater Pontiac Community Coalition and Committee of 50, an organization that works within the community with businesses, organizations, corporations, private citizens, and all, and certainly take a deep interest in what's going on, not only in our city of Pontiac, the city of Pontiac, but also throughout Oakland County. So it really gives me a great pleasure to be able to stand and speak to each one of you, and I want to thank you for this opportunity. Today I stand in support of and ask your support for the Pontiac Transportation Museum. It's not often in any of our lives that we have an opportunity to impact not only our past generations, those workers who created automobiles over the years, to impact young people who are engaged now in trying to understand the technology of what's going on in the auto industry, and very frankly, in the technological industry, and then the future generations. But we have that opportunity to do so with the Pontiac Transportation Museum. You know, as I sit here and I listen to my friend Doug Smith and Terry Connerly for what they've done, I think of Mark Thomas, who donated Crowfoot School for the Transportation Museum. Private citizens, individuals who were giving so much of themselves. I wrote down about 3 things. One, historical value. The Pontiac Transportation Museum has and will have a historical value, not only to Pontiac, but to Oakland County and throughout Michigan, I believe throughout the United States. Secondly, tourist attraction. Many of you may know 20 years, I served 20 years with the Woodward Dream Cruise. What an exciting time that is and has been for me. I was able to touch the lives of many, many people. I enjoyed what was happening. But in addition to the tourism, in addition to what happened with the Woodward Dream Cruise, over $25 million came back in economic support and into the communities. So the Transportation Museum has an economic value. The third is training and technology. To be able to train our young people into how the automobile industry works, to also further their technological knowledge, to work on career navigation. It's one of the most exciting opportunities that we have for young people, for those that are 25 years and up to 55 years that are trying to recreate another career. And then finally, the idea that each one of us would be able to check off, here's something that we did to make a difference, not only in the city of Pontiac, not only in Oakland County, but a difference that we made in the state of Michigan. I ask your support, I ask your endorsement, I ask you to give us the dollars and help us to make this an event that each one of us can be proud of. I stand ready to answer any questions. I will be here for that. Thank you.
Well, hello, Commissioners. I'm Andrew Sarpolis. I reside in Royal Oak, and I've had the honor to speak to this body on a number of environmental issues in the past, and I'm glad to be here again today, and what I hope will be a historic moment, the passing of a pro-environment budget for Oakland County. And I'm here as well as a representative of a coalition called Turn Oakland County Green, which is a project of Clean Water Action, the Michigan League of Conservation Voters, Sierra Club, the NAACP, Rochester Riders, Transportation Riders United, Citizens Climate Lobby, Sunrise Movement, and many more. Today, we brought a small delegation of our members, volunteers, and concerned citizens to this meeting. To be respectful of your time, not all of our attendees and represented groups will be speaking, but even those who did not deliver a statement today, they represent more people back in their communities who could not make it here on a Thursday morning. So why are we here to talk about the budget? Why did some of us take time on a workday to come speak to the commission? The reasons are simple, because we deeply love what most Oakland Countyers know makes our home great: clean water, fresh air, and walkable, livable communities. We have asked for a county-level sustainability office over the years because managing and beating climate change is critical. It is clear that a county with as large of a population as Oakland requires investment to protect the environment. Until now, Oakland County has had a smaller sustainability program than many Michigan municipalities a fraction of our size. We must preserve our natural spaces, and if we are to do that, we need to invest sufficient attention and labor to their protection. This budget represents a significant investment in clean air, water, and safe communities. It creates an important unit in the county administration to focus on protecting our environment in alignment with the best available science. It adds new expertise to our county that is comparable to the best practices from other successful environmental efforts. It authorizes funding for this unit that will make an impact many times its size. We are supportive as a coalition of all these efforts. There is much left to do in terms of protecting Oakland County. However, this is undoubtedly a step in that direction. So thank you. We appreciate your work, and we look forward to working with you on keeping Oakland County a livable and sustainable community for future generations.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Richardson, Berkeley, Michigan. I am here today in an individual capacity and also as chair of the Berkeley Environmental Advisory Committee. I'd like to extend thanks to Commissioner Cavell for attending a couple of our recent meetings and briefing us on the budget proposal that you're considering today. Berkeley does support the proposed budget. We have made strides toward making our community more sustainable, more green, more livable over the past few years. But we can't do it alone. I think most communities in Oakland County realize that we're faced with a set of problems that really call for a collaborative approach and a regional approach. And we see that in this budget. It's a great step toward realizing that objective. Just to add something that occurred to me today, the presentation on the Transportation Museum, I'll have to go there. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting place to visit. Just think of the changes in Oakland County that are captured in a place like that museum. The changes in the vehicles, the changes in the infrastructure to transport the vehicles, all of these dramatic changes over the past century. Today we face new challenges, and I think we have to respond to those challenges the way previous generations did. We have to be creative, we have to be innovative, we have to be realistic, we have to understand that the answers of the past don't necessarily work for the future, but the spirit of the past is something that we need to preserve. We need to preserve that can-do spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit, that spirit of that we believe in ourselves and we believe in our future and we can solve our problems. So I see a lot of that captured in the proposed budget. I look forward to working with the county on environmental improvement going forward to the future. Thank you.
Moshkan Raja'i from Ferndale. I'm a faculty member at Oakland University with expertise on the consequences of environmental pollution exposures and disparities on the public's health. As we continue to realize the impacts of pollution, climate change, biodiversity loss, flooding, storm damage, and inadequate infrastructure, having these financial resources and staff resources to tackle these issues is imperative. This will support our communities to become a regional leader that plans for the future. I hope that you will support this investment in the public's health with this budget and with future endeavors. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Julie Buddy. I live in Commerce Township. I'm speaking on behalf of Citizens Climate Lobby today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I'd like to speak on the county's budget and specifically the proposal to create an Office of Sustainability and funding for the development of a climate action plan, much like many other people this morning. As a voter, this is something that I care very deeply about, and my voting friends and family in Oakland County do as well. I'd like to express overwhelming support for this proposal, not just as a nice thing to do, but as a responsibility and an absolute necessity on this warming planet. And I'm thrilled to see that the county is taking positive action. The impacts and consequences of climate change do not discriminate by political party or personal beliefs, so reducing our emissions benefits everybody. From a financial standpoint, the consequences of a warming planet, including more severe storms, power outages, health crises, et cetera, will be much more costly in the long run compared to investing in solutions right now. Not only will investing in solutions help prevent catastrophic outcomes and help us better prepare for them, it can also lead to increased employment opportunities, energy efficiency, and in general, making the county a more appealing place to live. And that's due to the preserved nature areas, cleaner air and water, more public transportation options, and the list goes on. But what it all comes down to is that this needs to be a top priority, because without a livable planet, then all other initiatives are simply irrelevant. Of course, greener initiatives in this county alone can't solve climate change, but we can be part of the solution rather than part of the problem and be a leader for other counties as well. Thank you to everyone for the hard work that has gone into this historic proposal, and I implore you all to make sure that it gets across the finish line. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to my statement.
Tasha Shergan from Clarkston. Commissioner Woodward, I am shocked at the greed and disrespect that you have for your citizens in Oakland County. I was sitting there at the Lago meeting. It was a 2-hour meeting where your raises were discussed, which, by the way, that seems to be a conflict of interest. You guys are spending our money on your raises. That doesn't seem right, but that's a whole other conversation. So for 2 hours, there was a conversation, and Commissioner Joliet said, you know what, it's not really a great financial time right now. Maybe we should be more conservative. She said 2.5% and 1.5% for year 23 and 24. And then Gershenson said, well, I think it should be 5% and 3%. So then there was this vote. Juliet's won, and then it was agreed upon, it was voted on to get to send to the Finance Committee, and then you whisper in Nelson's ear to have call at ease, I have it all on video, instead of calling the meeting adjourned, and then you come back in, and for 8 minutes, you renegotiate your salary. That is so disgusting to me. I cannot believe it, and I hope every person in Oakland County sees how disrespectful you are. That is our money. It does not deserve to be in your pocket, and I'm sure you get so much financial incentive from all this nonsense that you have pushed forward, especially this whole regional transit thing. I cannot wait to see you gone.
God bless you. Sharon Blumenau, followed by Leslie Helwig.
Good morning, and again, my thoughts and prayers go out to my friends in Florida. I know that you said you weren't going to talk about the economic forum here, but I do want to make a statement here, just because it has to deal with the budget, and there's a lot of companies here that could help out here in Southeast Michigan. So the World Economic Forum CEO
the World Economic Forum is not on the agenda.
I know that.
If you want to speak about the budget, I mean, by all means,
right.
please address
I just
the budget.
this has to do with This is our money.
Excuse me. Do not interrupt these proceedings. You are given an opportunity to speak. Please be respectful of everybody else here who's patiently waiting to speak.
So this is really just about our money. I just kind of want to go over so the World Economic Forum, the CEO Klaus Schwab's net worth is 25 mil to 100 mil.
Again, disrespectfully, I mean, Klaus Schwab is not on the agenda.
No, I know that, but
okay. So, ma'am, I'm going to give you one more shot.
All right.
There is an opportunity to speak on any other topic at the end of the meeting.
Okay, all right, I will do that.
Okay,
then.
there we go. I'll give you, as much time, 3 minutes to speak on any topic that you would like. Next up, and I'll make you first on that list. Leslie Helwig is next, followed by Thomas Yazbek.
Good morning. I have lived in Oakland County all but 6 years of my life, and I've been very proud of that. I believe that climate change is the most important issue we are facing. It's existential. It affects our lives every day, as some of the previous speakers have mentioned, and as you know, just by watching the news. It affects us. Our health, public safety, recreation. I strongly urge that you, in the coming budget, add knowledgeable staff people to plan and implement effective and equitable climate policies. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I know you filled it out, and you're joining us from the beautiful city of Milford. Thank you. Mr. Yazbek, followed by Sandra Rahman.
I almost said good evening, but this is my first morning meeting that I've been to. So good morning, County Commissioners. My name is Thomas Yazbek. I live in Rochester Hills. I represent Rochester Riders and Transportation Riders United. Like many other folks here, I'm here to speak about the budget. I'm here to express my total support for the Sustainability Office. We need to do something about climate change and sustainability in Oakland County. This is a great first step. The last time I was here was during the meeting at which the county adopted the public transportation millage. It's something that excites me a lot because it fits with the general vibe I'm getting from this commission.
The public transportation millage is not on the agenda.
Well, I'll bring it back to the business then. So it's part of the overall plan for Oakland County to be a sustainable county, to be closer on with our peers in many other municipalities that are doing a great job of dealing with sustainability. I just want to say to the Pontiac Transportation Museum folks, if you guys have any bus exhibits or anything like that, I would love to see that. So I hope that's there. But anyways, just want to express my support and hope that this commission adopts the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sandra Rahman, and I have M. Hatt, who signed on twice. Is M. Hatt here? I'm going to skip over M. Hatt then.
Hi, Sandra Rahman, Clarkston. Let's just move this forward. Mr. Woodward, I'm very upset with you as well. Well, we commented about your 8% increase in the next 2 years. So climate change, the economy, we're not making any more money. We're being charged by your property taxes. Our property taxes increased this year. We haven't even gotten the winter bill yet. So that's a big 5% increase right there. Now another 8% increase for all of your income. And, meanwhile, we've got Con over here falling asleep. You guys don't really give a darn crap what we say. You're smug looking at me and smiling.
Direct your comments to me, the chair.
Okay, so Mr. Woodward, you guide all these people. You interact, you bully them into all these things. Our Republicans are not even sticking up for us. Let's talk about climate change. Your battery-operated vehicles weigh 5 times as much as our gasoline vehicles. So car crashes are going to kill you even faster in a car crash, just so you know. If you're stuck in a car crash, your car won't recharge unless somebody brings you electricity. I'd like to know where you're going to find that. I talked to Ron Weisner just recently at the state convention. He's laughing at me along with his friend. They're going to charge their 5,000 electric cars at your apartments that you don't own because you're going to be happy not owning anything after this World Economic Forum is done with you. So you're going to charge your cars with what? He said coal and natural gas. Isn't that funny? Isn't that what you're taking away from us? And what are these batteries, actually? This is worse for your climate. If you want to really learn what is happening in the, what we do with these batteries and how they are so bad for our country, how they're recycled, this windmill crap, where are you going to put these windmills when you have to replace them every 7 years? Those windmills have to be replaced. Where are you going to put those? The amount of cement that you have to use, the amount of gasoline, the amount of minerals, and the amount of our minerals that are hard to get from the ground are making all these batteries. You're not going to have batteries. You're not going to have a car. You're going to have a transit system, and if you're vaccinated, you might be able to get on that bus to go get some bread. This is just criminal behavior, what you guys are doing. Learn what the frickin' batteries are doing to our country and pay attention. Also, if you don't know, they've already auctioned off all of our fresh waterways for Michigan, all around Lake Superior, our intercoastal, and they've sold it to China. So now we don't have control of our fresh waterways. God bless.
Thank you very much. That's all that's signed up during public comment, unless M. Hat is still here. If you didn't sign up, Ms. Kennedy, welcome. Please come to the podium and state your name, community residence.
Catherine Kennedy, Lake Orion. And I actually walked around the whole building. This is actually part of the budget. The other part was the 690 pages I brought up first time. And people don't realize, I'm actually first logged onto the county website because I was concerned about the environment like these people. However, that's not what's going on. The new committee actually has a director, what, 143,000? They hired ACOM, some global company, to recommend we follow UN policy, which #1 solution is no poverty. So that's why they're bringing all the people from around the globe into our community. I actually think we're the test pilot for all this. So it's really quite offensive that you'll sit there and raise our taxes. And the funny part is this chip and sciences bill, we actually have Big Rapids, a Chinese battery maker taking over in Big Rapids. Was that part of the auction of our land in our tax foreclosures?
Ms. Kennedy, please keep your comments focused on the agenda.
Everything in here, the IT spending in here was to digitize us all. And now we all have QR codes so foreign entities can hack us all without our consent. This is craziness. And you have the audacity to say this is environmentally friendly. I sat through the solar presentation where even the presenter was aware that it has a useful life of 20 to 25 years and ROI of 22. I understood ROI as return on investment. That means you pay for it for 22 years, but it might be good for you for 20 to 25. Those solar panels being installed on Pontiac Health have to have an alternate supply of energy 24/7, only work when there isn't snow and when it's actually sunny to generate power. So it's a total waste of power. They literally are destroying our woods to bring in low-income housing. And at the July 6th meeting of the coordinating zoning ad hoc, they actually took our resources into woods we need to conserve. I totally agree. This budget does not conserve anything. They believe conservation is an evil word. They forgot it means not wasteful. It's true with financial resources and national resources. I would like to see the entire amount gone into preserving our assets and our property to prevent from the global takeover of our region, which is happening in Orion Township right now. The master plan they created creates this whole entire around the perimeter of low-income housing and zoning things we didn't even approve or hadn't even reviewed before the county changed it. So there's a lot going on here. The land bank creation, all done in quiet. All this is not part of this, but it's all in here. Yeah, there's a lot of spending here. It puts us in worse shape. And the most interesting thing is their assumptions. Their millage assumptions, if you look at 2023, they use one number as a factor. They actually reduce it for 2024 and 25. So it looks like they'll actually be doing less, but the assessments are way higher. So it looks a lot less than what it really is.
Thank you.
The financial assumptions are hogwash.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak during public comment? Please come to the... Welcome. If you could state your name and community of residence.
Yeah, I'm Izzy Kapoya, and I live in Rochester Hills. And I just wanted to encourage and support you with all the things you're doing for sustainability. I want to just say thank you so much for being so thoughtful and, you know, thinking about the future. And I also want you to know that there's a lot of positive energy here directed at you. So please go at the end of the meeting with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of energy directed at me, but I appreciate it. Ma'am, you just walked in. Are you M-Hat? Okay. So is M-Hat here? All right. So anybody else want to speak during public comment for the first one to speak on items on the agenda? I think we got everybody. Seeing no further, I'll declare public comment closed. And that will now move us to this side of the podium, and we'll start with reports of standing committees. First up is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Gingell, seconded by Commissioner McGilvery. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can we prompt the vote? Oh, did he have to? Spiz. Is Coca Cola here? Oh. Okay. Yep. All right.
Okay, Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The consent agenda is adopted. That will move us to the regular agenda. And I will call on the Finance Committee Chair, the Honorable Commissioner Gwen Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Before I start, I just have a couple of things I'd like to say about the Finance Committee and the process that we took to arrive at this budget in working with the executive staff. I want to thank first of all, the Finance Committee. We had a lot of meetings over the course of the summer. They were well attended by our committee members. We always had a quorum when we needed one. They did their homework. They asked a lot of questions. They worked with the executive staff. And then our staff that supported all of us as we were doing that. I just want to call those folks out because this was a really long process and it was heartfelt, and there were a lot of folks that contributed to it. I'm proud of the collaboration that we've had with the executive staff on their priorities and our priorities and aligning them. And as I said to one of my colleagues a few nights ago when we were on the phone, you don't realize it, but there are hundreds of people that work here at Oakland County that have contributed to this budget in one way or another. And it is just a huge amount of work. And I want folks to recognize it's over $1 billion, and that's a lot of people contributed to that. A couple of points I want to make about it. It is structurally balanced, meaning we are no longer using planned use of fund balance to set things up at the end of the year. We are structurally balanced so that what comes in is what goes out in our planning. We also have retained the AAA bond rating from the rating agencies. And this year they even told us that the process that we're using is more transparent than it has ever been for this county. And it gave them a real assurance that we were continuing to manage the money in a prudent and good way. So I just wanted everybody to know that we have sustained our AAA bond rating. And after all of that, I will move on now into Item Public A, which is, or 13A, which is the public hearing
Specifically for the budget, yeah. Okay, so I'll open that. Before we open up a public hearing specific to fiscal year the 2023 appropriations budget for the Oakland County's next fiscal year, which is a requirement of state law, I also, to echo your comments, I also want to recognize the tremendous work this board and all of the commissioners that played an active role on the Finance Committee and other members that worked with members of the Finance Committee and staff to do our part to review and ultimately get to this process, which is arguably the most important responsibility of this body, is not possible without working with our partners in the executive office, all the departments, and all the department heads. And so at this moment, I want to recognize everyone. We are joined by a large number. We don't want to keep them here too much longer because I don't know how things are running. But I want to, specifically call out, Chief Deputy Hillary Chambers on behalf of the executive office and the executive team, as well as all of our departments of Oakland County that are represented here. So if you could just please rise, I want to make sure that the commission recognizes all of your contributions. Yep. From IT to workforce development, risk management, facilities, health, homeland security, indigent defense, HR, corp counsel,
IT.
Economic development, and communications, workforce development. Yep, Michigan Works, yes. This process requires incredible amount of work and collaboration with all of those individuals, their staff, coming together to create a product, as Commissioner Markham's talking about, that ultimately results in a $1 billion operating budget that helps fund all county operations for the next 12 months. So thank you for your service and all the work that you do. So at this point, I'm going to declare the public hearing on the budget open. This is actually, turns out to be an additional public comment opportunity. So anyone who would like to speak, and this has to be specific to the budget, please come to the podium. Ms. Rahman.
I'd like to make public knowledge of this public budget. The CSS provides instant insight to the priorities of the county executive budget. Highlights are provided to indicate areas for further injury. We appreciate the level of effort and investment in preparing this budget. However, there is still a number of spending priorities, proposal rate increase the Oakland County resident that need further public review. Highlight 1, H1 in the CAB. The general fund, general purpose spending $515 million is roughly about 51% of total budget, all through funds for FY 2023, $106.8 million. The remaining budget for all funds almost as large as general fund, general purpose spend. Can the county executive share there are significant changes to the planned budget for these funds from prior year budgets? H2, ARP funds may be allocated to Oakland County as additional funds from the Inflation Reduction Act as significant amounts. Does the county executive have view on how these funds are provided as a part of this public CAB review to be spent? H3, where would the details of the business forward investment of $15 million for small business be available for CAB and RBB? This is the program being administered by the county through the services of professional contractor. Big question mark there. H5, H6. In terms of spending priorities, the county executive proposes spending of total $12 million in mental health services, $10 million in communities, $2 million in schools. In addition, on the 540, the RB Fund 21400 Housing Trust Fund. In addition, $2 million per year is proposed for each of the next 3 years, and on page 441, the HBB for Fund 27196, Juvenile Justice Services, an additional $750K per year is proposed for each of the next 3 years. These priorities are in conflict to the priorities benefit a border section of Oakland County residents. As example, the environmental of Oakland County Parks and Recreation area is beneficial to all Oakland County residents. Can the county executive explain why rates for admission to our parks are increasing in the proposed budget? On page 571 of our BBB Fund 50800, Parks and Recreation, shows proposals increased in charges for services such as administration to parks, $866K for each of the next 3 years, not including your increases, of course. In similar manner, page 600 of the RBB Water and Sewer Trust shows proposed increase in changes for services
wrap up that
over
sentence.
$4.5 million per year for each of the next 3 years.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, the
Ma'am, your time is
pastor
up. Your
had
time
time,
is up.
the pastor
Thank
had
you
5
very
minutes.
much.
May I
Thank you
please
very
finish
much.
my reading?
No, you may not. You spoke for...
God bless you, David
God
Woodward.
bless you. All right. Anyone else that would like to speak during on this public hearing on the budget? I'm seeing nobody else. Oh, okay, let's come to the podium. If you could state your name and community of residence, please.
My name is Kathleen O'Loughlin. I'm from Troy, Michigan, and I am going to read or pick up where she left off. On H7, what investments are planned in the budget for the county executive in operationalize equity within Oakland County government? On page 532 of the RBB, the planned spend for Fund 27373 BJA coronavirus is 0. And on page 535 of the RBB, the planned spend for Fund 27197 coronavirus emergency supplies is 0. This makes sense as the federal government, CDC, and other agencies have stated that coronavirus is over. Can the county executive provide clarity on why page 485 of the RBB Fund 28630 COVID-19 is planned for a spend of $8.9 million for each of the next 3 years? This is a significant amount of money for a challenge that is waning, and these funds could be allocated for the benefit of Oakland County residents. On page 544 of the RBB Fund 29252, the Veterans Service Fund has a plan to decrease expenditures from $772,000 in fiscal year 2022 to only $127,000 for each of the next 3 years, a decrease of $645,000 each year. We need to continue to support our veterans with the services such as emergency shelter, contracted services, and transportation services, especially as they age. These men and women stepped up to serve, and we should not be excluding support for them as part of this budget. On page 613 of the RBB Capital Improvement Program, item number 5 under Building Projects is a newer program for $6.3 million for building security enhancements. Can the county executive share the details of this program and why it takes priority over other proposed capital programs on page 614, such as the public safety capital programs? Oakland County residents would likely be supportive of initiatives such as Emergency Operations Center or Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center. On page 661 of the RBB Professional Service Contract Summary, one of the contracts under Risk Management CON 000852 is for insurance brokerage services for $14 million beginning on 7/1/2019. Can the county executive provide details on this contract and whether it is expected to continue? Oh, I thought I had more time.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else wants to speak during public? Yeah. You state your name and community of residence. Welcome.
Hi, Laura Schuler, Lake Orion, Michigan. Just continuing on with the previous bullet points, I'm just going to go through that. On page 661 of the RBB Professional Services Contract Summary, one of the contracts under Risk Management, CON 0000852, is for insurance brokerage services for $14 million, beginning on 7/1/2019. Can the county executive provide details on this contract and whether it is expected to continue at this cost level beyond the end of contract on 6/30/2022? Again, we appreciate the level of effort that has been invested in preparing this budget. However, there are still a number of spending priorities and proposed rate increases on Oakland County residents that need further public review. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that would speak during this public hearing for the fiscal year 2023 budget? Welcome again, Ms. Kennedy.
This is the actual budget, and these are the highlights of the budget. So you can see when they had 25 pages available for the first finance budget hearing, it was a little bit under what we should have had, and even that morning, there were only 98 pages linked to the agenda packet that day. So there are so many things that are buried in here, and I can actually say with certainty, it's all about the financial assumptions that are malarkey. It's malarkey math. So when you have an assumption of 2% inflation rate, but the inflation rate's really 8.3, that's not really a good financial assumption, is it? Or when we have millage rates that are cited on page 14 of the overall budget highlights in 3.986 is the mills declared for 23. A 6.15% increase in property tax bill value. So they're not even telling you when they're telling you all these millages. Some of these are already approved by the board, but you won't see it in your tax bill until December, after you have the chance to vote on SMART, which is actually not even going to include the cost of operations because it's a deficit operation of a nonprofit. The fact that the net revenue increased $16,791,538 in property taxes, just comparing to the recommended budget, why would you assume for the following year that the millage rate would actually go down to make it look like it wouldn't be as inflationary as it actually would? So they did that for both 2023 and 2024. They're assuming the millage rate overall is going to be less than it is now and less than what they declared for 2023. Now, how is that even possible, especially when they have a ballot they're pushing it's 0.95 just on SMART alone? Malarkey math, I say. And the state of Michigan, their U of M economic forecast is also malarkey math, especially since the employment data at a county level that was incorporated into that review by U of M is disclosed on page 5 of their assumptions that no employment data was available at the county level for Oakland County specifically. Why would that be? That's a very odd assumption when you're declaring that this county, which is supposed to be the economic wheelhouse of the state, who actually had a deficit last year you've been trying to cover up with magic money transfers, because the overspending of this board on all these ridiculous policies in the name of pandemic, which was all thrown through the FEMA budget, by the way, that's not okay. It's called malarkey math, and I don't approve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that would like to speak during the public hearing for the budget? Seeing none, I will close the hearing. And I knew I was going to go, people were spread out in different areas. I want to make certain to recognize public services, neighborhood and housing and development, and the sustainability office. People were hidden behind people and spread out and not in the room when I actually recognized people. So these are other department heads that are all here that have been here for this meeting and contribute to this process. Again, we are incredibly thankful to all of you. So I would please do not take that oversight as not appreciative of all your contributions. I will give the floor back to the Finance Chair, Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving on to item 13B, the fiscal year 2023 General Appropriations Act and 2023 County General Property Tax Rates. We have a resolution.
Per state law, Commissioner Markham moves, seconded by Commissioner Cavell. Any discussion? I think for those who are listening, I mean, the county is required to adopt the general county property tax rate every single year. There is also Headley that requires an appropriate rollback if revenues exceed a certain amount, and that is why in the budget you see a projected decrease over time. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote. It's not a separate amendment? I'm sorry, I apologize. So you're moving the budget, not just the rate. The rate is baked into the budget. So,
right.
Okay, so we're moving the budget. We have a number of amendments that we will take up. And first, I will take up the Senior Public Communications Initiative Amendment. Moved by Commissioner McGilvery, seconded by Commissioner Nelson. Any discussion? No discussion on that. Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on the amendment to add funding for the senior initiative, the newly created advocacy position. Okay, it says, right. The prompt that's before you right now is the amendment to the Senior Public Communications Initiative Amendment.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, next I will call on Commissioner Kowal. It's the amendment for the local road improvement tri-party amendment. How about this? Why don't I'm sorry. I saw the presenter, you. I know you brought it up in finance, so there I mean, that's the honor. So Commissioner Kowal moves the amendment to provide the funding for the local road improvement and tri-party programs, seconded by Commissioner Gingell. Any discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting the affirmative. The resolution, the amendment is adopted. Next, I will call on Commissioner Joliet.
Thank you. I was trying to find it here. So this is for a program for secondary roads in townships for somewhat of a 4-party matching system, where the road commission will be matching what the board of commissioner puts in, and then it will also include the residents of the SAD district, which is actually a year process, 2 rounds of petitions. It's quite extensive to get done to even get to the level of funding, and then local municipality matches if they can afford it.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Joliet, seconded by Commissioner Nelson. Any further discussion? Seeing none.
Oh.
Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
I have one more?
Yes. I'm sorry. Commissioner Joliet, I thought you explained it already in the motion making.
I did,
Okay,
but
there
I want to appreciate or recognize and appreciate the support of the board and of the board chair for this program, recognizing the dire need for this, and appreciate the minimal level of funding for 2023.
Great, thank you. And there's a lot of work still to be done to design the program and all that, that other work. And so commissioners, if you're interested, I know there's some have already expressed, so I'm probably looking at a 5-member committee to get to work to be in a position to explore the formation of what that program and the details will look like. Commissioner Weipert.
Yeah, I also appreciate everybody supporting this. This get calls on this all the time. The road commission only does maintenance on all of these township roads. and there's a dire need. So this pilot program will be welcomed in all the communities, so really appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Commissioner Miller, followed by Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you, Chair. I have to support everything they do with roads, and I will always support roads. And thank you for bringing this up. I know it's been a conversation for a while.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cavell, followed by Commissioner Cavell, followed by Commissioner McGilvery.
Yes, thanks, Chairman.
Sorry, Commissioner Cavell, and then Commissioner McGilvery.
You're good. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just wanted to say this is great. Glad to see we're able to work together, and also wanted to just lift up Royal Oak Township and the concern you've given them. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McGilvery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be voting no on this, and the reason being, as I explained in our caucus meeting, local communities, Madison Heights, Royal Oak, Pleasant Ridge, they have SADs to pay for their local subdivision roads, the residential areas. And I have a problem with using, those cities have to do that, and I'm not sure why the township should be a part of that. The people who live on that particular street are the ones that pay for that improvement. And until I understand this better, I can't be in support of it, so.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 1 nay.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment is adopted. And I guess we got one more amendment. I think actually you have Commissioner Gershenson moves. These are the professional service contract amendments, and lifting up and identifying, pulling a few from the book so that they come before the board at a later date. So moved by Gershenson, seconded by Cavell. I'm scrolling it down. Just a handful in there. This is what we've done in the past. So for clarification, in the back of the budget book are all the professional contracts in here. Our policy is that if it's included in here in the final presentation of the budget, the board has given its authority for those dollars to be released for those contracts. If we want to be part of a more in-depth conversation, that it cannot be part of the approved budget. The funding's there. Our policy is that we allow those contracts to advance, the ones that remain advance with the board's consent to fund those contracts and approve those contracts.
So what we're saying then is in the future, any that come before us for more than $250,000 have to come to the board?
Right.
Any contract above $250,000 that is not included in here per policy must come before the board.
Okay.
So anything that you would take out of here, those would have to come as well. But if they are, and a lot of them are ongoing maintenance, continuous,
Right.
And so, I talked to leadership if there were any, in last budget, we pulled some, and all those things will come through the committee process and work in a collaboration to ask whatever questions are necessary.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you very much. The sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment is adopted. And this brings us to the last one that I think that we have. I'll recognize Commissioner Miller. Do you want to move the resolution? The amendment? Moved by Miller, seconded by Cavell. Any discussion? Commissioner Miller, you want to speak to the amendment?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is for an assignment for $200,000 to put aside to help community centers out that train in workforce development, give an opportunity to have simulators, to introduce the residents of Oakland County to have that secondary what is it, secondary involvement in having an opportunity to do welding or heavy equipment or whatever kind of simulator is needed for that area. And so it'd be for community centers that train, not just any community center, but we want to make sure they train so they get used. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Any further discussion? Well, I want to speak to it, and I think, the idea, I am, very interested and probably supportive of, and I think that it warrants additional exploration in how we can support this and the details and understanding. There are three reasons why I can't support this amendment at this time. First, I think it's really important that we maintain a discipline through this budget process. Even this amount, I think, in caucus, I know the Democratic caucus has discussed as 150,000. I think this amendment's 200,000 now. Is that?
Because that was suggested, yes, in caucus.
Okay. So, the fluctuation of that without knowing the details of like how would this work, what community centers would be eligible, who's going to monitor, who's going to own the equipment, and I think that is really important to maintain the integrity of the budget process. I am 100% committed to working on this. That's the first objection. The second is that I think that this idea needs to really incorporate strong dialogue with our workforce development team. I believe that has just recently started, and I think that there's a great opportunity because I think anything that helps create pathways to the trades is a good thing. And then lastly, instead of dedicating at this juncture without all the, more details fleshed out, I think we should be exploring what existing workforce development, mostly federal dollars, but maybe state dollars that are available to support this, because we can't be in a situation where we're supplanting. Instead of, dedicating general fund dollars at this time. Conceptually, I think this is a good idea that we should be exploring, and it should be part of a comprehensive thing, but I can't support this amendment at this time. Commissioner Miller, followed by Cavell.
I'll let Cavell go first since I went already.
Commissioner Cavell for the first time, followed by Commissioner Miller.
Yeah, just to make sure this is clear for everyone, this is an assignment, so if anything, it helps make the budget more true because it's us planning ahead for a potential spend. If we were to have those conversations, like what we're doing with the roads, we're assigning $2 million to talk about what we could do, so we're committing in good faith to have the conversation. All this is asking for is us committing in good faith to have the conversation with workforce development, with other partners, to make sure we see it through. That's all.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 13 nays.
An insufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment fails. Are there any other amendments? Seeing none, that brings us back to the main motion. Any discussion broadly about the budget? Seeing none, let's cast the budget vote. Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on the amended, the resolution adopting the General Appropriation Act and 2023 General Property Tax Rate as amended.
Chair, I'm not getting a prompt. I might have to do a voice vote.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes. I'm not getting a prompt.
Oh, you put it in there. Okay. Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 abstention.
I have a yay.
I'm sorry?
I have a yes vote.
I know, we counted you as a yes.
Okay, thank you.
What was the vote again, please? 17 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 abstention.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the budget is adopted.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the report of the Finance Committee for today.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on all the work that you've done.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late on my question.
And to all members of the Finance Committee, I know that you spent hours and hours over this course of the summer, not only getting through this material, but all the additional information and conversation and collaboration with departments, the executive office, and other elected officials around the county. And so this is a yeoman's task, and I'm glad that we start October 1 with a structurally balanced budget. Commissioner Long.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand and know why Commissioner Miller voted no on, or abstaining on the budget.
Me too.
I will grab, do you want?
Well, yeah, I feel like our budget's, we're most important things, we're looking at roads, we're looking at making sure people have jobs and getting to work, as well as healthcare. And I feel like, my amendment was part of that. And if we're putting $2 million aside for roads, it's just an assignment, so it's not money that's spent. But like Commissioner Cavell said, that we are pre-planning. So if we do it later on, and we're actually taking away from the budget, we're adding more to it, so we're actually spending more than we're assigning. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to question that, Chairman Woodward, because you have to have a financial gain to abstain for something, or your business is directly getting money from the government.
Let me take a quick recess and confer with my
You can't abstain
counsel.
just because your amendment didn't pass.
they were given 175, then matching grant.
Right.
Okay, we're going to reconvene this board meeting. And so if I can call on the clerk to reestablish quorum. I know, well, we won't move until.
Okay. Everybody
Okay, well,
ready?
they need to adjourn. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
Shh, just wait, just.
Okay. Okay, calling
Any
roll.
more outbursts,
Oh.
disruptions in this meeting, you'll be escorted out.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay, I'm going to start with Charles. Commissioner Charles? Present. Gershenson? Here. Gingell? Here. Hoffman? Here. Jackson?
Here.
Joliet? Come back. Kokenderfer, who is left? Kowal?
Here.
Kuhn?
Here.
Long?
Here.
Lubes? Okay, we'll come back. Markham?
Here.
McGilvray?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
Moss?
Present.
Nelson? Powell? Spiz?
Present.
Wipert? Woodward?
Here.
Cavell?
Here.
And looping back around for
And I believe we've got Joliet and
Thank you.
and Lubes.
And Lubes? Thank you.
All
Okay,
right.
you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Quorum is reestablished. And I apologize to commissioners that started an ad hoc meeting to be efficient with time, but we can get the business underway here. As a result of the last vote in which the resolution approving the 23 General Appropriations Act, I need a motion to reconsider the vote so that we can vote again. So motion by Commissioner Charles, seconded by Commissioner Markham to reconsider the vote in which the resolution was adopted. Can we maybe do this like unanimously? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect unanimously that the resolution has been approved unanimously. And now we need a motion to approve the budget as amended. Moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Long. Any discussion on the resolution now? Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so it's very disheartening and disappointing for the ones that voted no against advancing the workers in Oakland County in this budget. I reluctantly will vote yes with the understanding that we'll work on this moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I commit to work with you and any other members that would like to work on the idea proposed by Commissioner Miller. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote for the adoption of the budget.
Mr. Chair, you have 18 yeas, 2 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution and the 2023 General Appropriations Act is adopted. Thank you very much. All right, that deserves an applause. Okay, let's power through the rest of this. Commissioner Nelson, the Chair of the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner McGilvray. Any discussion? Commissioner Cavell, followed by Commissioner Miller.
Yeah, I just want to lift up two things. One, the cost savings that are the premise behind us supporting this will be borne by the employees. There's no urgency to this. we should be cognizant also that there are over 300 county employees that make less than 50 grand a year, so this additional $260 a year comes at a bad time. Think about the cost of essentials due to inflation, the soon-to-be 8.8% increase in DTE this year. So that's kind of part one. Part two is the UAW, due to their contract, will not be participating in this, so the $900,000 expected savings now becomes closer to $700,000, and that also excludes the 700 employees they have represented. So I just wanted to make sure that was known and recognized when talking about this.
Thank you, Chair. So I know I mentioned this in caucus, is we're giving employees an increase and then we're increasing their insurance, so it's really they're not getting the increase that we actually are voting on to give them. So I'm opposed to this because I've seen this in many times in my professional career as a negotiator where it's cost neutral because you're raising and taking, and it's just a bad thing, and I just see a trend on this. We should start at $10 and there's different percentages. And it just keeps going. The ball keeps rolling down the hill. And I want to make sure that our employees in Oakland County have the best health care for the best cost and the best price because they make sure that we run every day. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, you have 16 yeas, 4 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My next item is item B, adopting compensation adjustments for county commissioners for the 2023-2024 term of office, and I move to recommend adoption of the foregoing resolution.
Moved by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Charles. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas, 9 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item, item C, adopting countywide elected official compensation for 2023. I move to recommend the adoption of the foregoing resolution.
Moved by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 3 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item, item D, Solid Waste Planning Committee appointments. The Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee recommends the following board action. Having reviewed the applications in the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee, the committee recommends that the following individuals be appointed to the Solid Waste Planning Committee for a 2-year term commencing 9/29/22 through 9/29/24. Regional Solid Waste Planning Agency, SEMCOG, Rachel Barlock, and Industrial Waste Generators, Daniel Smith. Mr. Chair, the LAGO Committee recommends the adoption of the foregoing board action.
Moved by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Any discussion on these appointments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voted in the affirmative, the appointments are confirmed. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next item is item E, support for Michigan's Senate Bill 58 and House Bill 4314 holding polluters accountable. Mr. Chair, I move to recommend adoption of the foregoing resolution.
Moved by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner McGilvery. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas, 9 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last item, item F, recognizing the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day. Mr. Chair, I recommend the adoption of the foregoing resolution.
Moved by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Miller. Any discussion? Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Chairman. So this day is important, this switch is important, as everybody knows. I've brought this up many times. Indigenous Peoples Day, our nation celebrates the invaluable contributions, or the contributions and resilience of Indigenous people, recognizing their inherent sovereignty and commitment to honor the federal government's trust and treaty obligation to our tribal nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Gingell, followed by Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this seems to be kind of like an annual debate, and we go through the same discussion, so now I'll opine on mine. I don't think it's fair and appropriate to eliminate Columbus Day. I think there's a lot of a misunderstanding about the history relative to the comments that have been made around changing it to Indigenous People Day. While I respect Indigenous people and happy to support a day for that segment of the population, I don't think it's appropriate to just terminate Columbus Day. So, you know, again, we do this every year. I'll make my point and we'll all vote our way.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hoffman.
I remember when we were all in grade school and we studied Christopher Columbus, and we learned he was a great explorer, risked it all, traveled across the Atlantic 4 times, risked his life, found better ways to do different things. And then we fast forward 500 years, and the reason that we don't want to support Columbus anymore is because he supported slavery, and he did, and it was wrong. It was the culture of the time. But then we're going to substitute that for Indigenous People Day, and now they should be recognized too because they contributed greatly to civilization and to world history. But if you thought Columbus supported slavery, and I pointed this out last time, the 5 largest Indian nations in this country owned slaves, traded in slaves. When the Indians were moved to federal lands, the civilized tribes were deeply committed to slavery, established their own racial black codes, immediately reestablished slavery when they arrived in Indian territory, rebuilt the nations with slave labor, crushed slave rebellions, and enthusiastically sided with the Confederacy in the Civil War. Both people should be recognized for the good things they did. You know, sometimes history is quite uncomfortable, but you can't change it. You can't create a fiction. You know, we should recognize both Columbus for what he contributed to the world history and to our future, and the same thing with the Indigenous people. They all contributed. But to wipe one out for another one who I think if you're on a scale of 1 to 10 is supporting slavery, the Indians won. Thank you.
Commissioner Moss.
Thank you. I think adding an Indigenous Peoples Day is a no-brainer. I think it's something that's long overdue and should be done. But turning around and throwing the Italian Americans and Columbus into the memory hole is a bad idea. Diversity means expansion. Recognizing the diverse nature of our population, adding is what it ought to be all about, not just choosing one and nuking the other. So I'm going to be against this. If it was simply to add Indigenous Peoples Day to the date, I'd be all for that. That'd be great. That is what I always thought diversity was about, not about actually narrowing down the choices. So I'm going to be against this, not because I'm against. I think we should once again Indigenous Peoples Day. Geez, this is, like I said, a no-brainer. But now you're picking and choosing, and that's not diverse. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hoffman, if you speak a second
Thank
time,
you,
I might
Chairman.
have to enter this debate.
Thank you, Chairman Woodward. I move that we recognize both of them either on the same day or 2 separate days.
I
And
don't
recognize
think that
them
is
for
a
what
properly
they
formed motion.
contributed.
We have a resolution before us. If you would like to craft a motion, we could
I'm just making
visit
a
it another
motion we
time.
do it.
The what?
I'm just making a motion that we do it. It's nothing elaborate. It's pretty simple. I don't think we need a formal resolution.
You
I want
need
to
a
amend-
formal written amendment and what exactly you're going to do. We could, I don't,
Pardon? I'm sorry.
you got to write it out. You got to have a written amendment. We got to put it in. We could go at
All right, I just want to add Christopher Columbus to Indigenous People and do it all the same day, whatever date it says in our resolution, the second Tuesday of October or something, or second Monday.
So per our rules process, we need to stand at ease to do that. We've done this before.
I don't.
I guess
Okay.
I'm looking to the leadership of my minority caucus. Is this a request to stand at ease to do this?
Okay. You want to write it out? Okay.
He needs a second, doesn't he? He doesn't have a second yet.
We don't have a second yet, but I imagine there would be a second.
I know.
Oh,
Okay, can we recess for 5
I-
minutes?
We will stand at ease if the ad hoc committee wants to confer to get their business out of the way.
What's the question?
Okay. Are we at ease?
We're at ease.
Andy?
Oh, boy. Oh.
Are you guys, they did it? Are you all done?
Oh. I wasn't gonna waste time. When she was done, I was going, move right ahead. No, I was just disrupting. It's just. But 10 to 12. I would say 10 steps or save time. So when you. I was gonna say, I think. Right on it instead of getting out.
Where did it go?
Gingell. Hoffman.
Present.
Thank you. Jackson. Joliet. Here. Kokendorfer. Oh, I forgot he left. Sorry. Kowal. Here. Kuhn.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Lubes. Here. Markham. Come back. McGilvray.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Moss.
Here.
Nelson. Here. Powell. Spiz.
Present.
Weipert. Woodward.
Here.
Cavell.
Here.
Charles.
Present.
Markham. Markham. Thank you. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, that brings us back to our item, and we had a motion and second to take up the resolution recognizing the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day. We took a recess so that an amendment could be drafted. Commissioner Hoffman moves the amendment, seconded by Commissioner Gingell. Commissioner Hoffman, would you like to speak to your amendment? For those who, commissioners, if you refresh, the amendment should be in your packet. Commissioner Hoffman.
All right, get rid of the 5th and 6th whereas. And then on the back page, or at the end, now therefore it be resolved that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners proclaims October 10th, 2022 as Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day in Michigan.
Okay,
that's it.
It's already been moved in second. Okay. I was hoping to avoid the engagement in this debate, but I guess I'll jump in. The reason I will be opposed to this amendment is for the very things that it does. In the view and mind of, I think, a growing number of people, particularly indigenous people, that Columbus is not viewed as a discoverer, but rather as a colonizer, forcefully taking land, setting the stage for widespread death and the loss of indigenous people and the customary way of life. So I oppose this amendment. I wouldn't support this amendment. And the notion, just as I wouldn't recognize a general of the Confederacy as recognizing it for the contributions that he's made to this country. So I will be voting no. Anybody else? Commissioner Miller.
I just want to say I took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that. I echo that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cavell.
I just want to quickly add, if we pass this, this feels like it would be bad for Oakland County economic development, this amended resolution.
Can't hear you.
This would be bad for business, trying to attract business and jobs to Oakland County if we pass something that says these things.
Excuse me?
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman on the amendment.
Bad for business because we're supporting a group of people that were bigger slave owners and slave traders than Columbus? Okay, I don't understand, but go ahead, Charlie.
Thank you. All right. Any other further discussion? Commissioner Jackson.
I just want to say that I'm not going to support this amendment. And it's basically because one of the largest jurisdictions or municipalities that I represent have also changed to observing Indigenous Persons Day as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 11 nays.
Insufficient number voting in the affirmative. The amendment fails. That brings us back to the main motion. I think everything that has been said, need to be said, has been said. Any further discussion? No. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the resolution. Prompt the vote. I'm sorry, not call the roll. Prompt the vote. Sold.
So sorry.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas, 8 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Nelson. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Next, I'll call on Commissioner Lubes, the Chair of the Public Health and Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is an item under Public Health and Safety Committee. There's a request for an extension with Haven to provide services to victims of sexual assault to the Safe Therapeutic Assault Response Team, also called START, for the fiscal year 2023 to 2025.
Moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Cavell. And I believe there's an amendment. Correct? Yes. Right there. Commissioner Lubes moves the amendment, seconded by Commissioner Gingell. This amendment applies the appropriate fiscal, the budget amendment, slight increase in the contract to be able to provide these services to survivors of sexual assault. The amount was approved in committee, and this just squares it up with the budget. This is a contract for services to support survivors of sexual assault, and we pay a fixed amount per examination, and unfortunately there has been an uptick in the need for these services, and so that's the justification for increasing the total maximum amount. Any further discussion? Commissioner Cavell, followed by Commissioner Miller.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who voted yes in committee on the adjusted funding, and thank you to Chair Woodward and Chair Lubes for helping true up the budget part.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to commend Commissioner Lubes on this. In my prior jobs, I've had the opportunity to go to the site, and it's well needed. And if you were ever seen it and seen how these people come out of what they come out of, you would definitely vote twice on this. Yes.
Right. Thank you. How about we just see if we can do a voice vote. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the amendment is adopted unanimously, and that brings us back to the main motion. And Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on the resolution.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Commissioner Lubes, I think, is that the last item? That's the only item under the public health and safety, correct? You are correct. Okay, but don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere, because now we'll move to reports of special committees and the School Mental Health Grant Program Oversight Ad Hoc Committee, which you preside over. I will recognize Commissioner Lubes. No, that's good. So you move, just that we have to approve is a move by Commissioner Lubes, second by Commissioner Cavell. I would just add the reason why we're taking this up right now, we appropriated, set aside $10 million, appropriated $10 million to address mental health needs in schools. As Commissioner Lubes mentioned, $175,000 base for anyone who would apply and submit how they would use these dollars to address the mental health needs in schools, and an additional $175 if you'd match it with some of, with local dollars, for upwards a total $15 million project. All school districts and public school academies were contacted to participate, and all the applications and how these funds are being used by those individual school districts, as well as the requirement of the report on how the success of this program over the next 2 years will come back to this board. So I want to commend Commissioner Lubes and everyone in the committee who reviewed these applications, and we're taking it up now to make sure we get those dollars out as fast as possible so that it can be used in the school year. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Commissioner Cowell.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Lubes.
Thank you. I have no further business to come before this committee at this time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Lubes. All right, move us to unfinished business. There is none. It'll move us to new and miscellaneous business, and I will first call on Commissioner McGilvery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am very pleased today to introduce a resolution. It's a resolution for the Healthy Communities Park and Outdoor Recreation Investment Plan for Parks and Recreation that's using ARP money. And co-sponsors on this include Commissioner Weiperts, Joliet, Markham, Powell, Long, Kowal, Kuhn, Spiz, Miller, Woodward, Gengel, Hoffman, and Gershenson. So.
And if your name is not included,
and
Nelson. And if your name is not included and you want to be included, contact staff and we will administratively correct that. And you are referring that to Legislative Affairs and Government Operations?
No, health and safety. Don't they go to health and safety? Yes. Lago?
Parks, I thought, to Lago, right?
Really?
Okay, so we'll go to Kristen and probably also to Finance, because given the amount and everything. So, okay, we'll refer
Send it wherever you want. I don't
refer to Lago without objection. All right, yep, and there'll be more opportunity to review that. I know a lot have had conversations. I think it's an incredible opportunity. So thank you, Commissioner. Next up, I will call on Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Chairman Woodward. I'd like to suspend the rules and take up this resolution. What I'm asking is that...
Okay, so wait, a motion to suspend by Commissioner Hoffman, seconded by Commissioner Spiz. Motion to suspend the resolution to take up this item. All in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Nays have it.
Yeas have it.
Nays have
I
it.
count it.
Rules are not suspended. Would you like it referred to committee?
Well, should I explain what it is?
No.
No?
I mean, it's here.
Okay.
We know what it is.
Could we have a roll call vote on the...
Madam Clerk, please, please, this is 18, no, it's actually, well, it's 18C, right? Well, I don't think there's an A. Is there an A? There's an A at the very end. I'm sorry, I'm addressing them as they've come in, so A is at the end, so. It is under new and miscellaneous business. It's item C.
Which is the second item?
No, it's not C.
Oh, now it's B. Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay,
It's
can you just
B
make sure,
on your-
Commissioner, I mean,
if
this
you-
is,
What's this on?
this is about suspending the rules.
Okay.
C's, I've got as
No,
mental health.
we're trying to change the millage.
Yes.
No.
Yes, Commissioner Weiper. This is the authorizing the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority millage question to be placed on the May 2023 election ballot.
No, that one's coming up next, Phil. I have two of them. Yeah.
Overachiever.
I've been busy.
Okay. Okay, all right, let me be very clear. All right, so we called a vote on suspension of the rule, to take up the resolution authorizing the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority millage question to be placed on the May 23rd election ballot. We took a voice vote. It failed. The sponsor of that motion requested a record roll call, and so you must vote. And so we'll ask the clerk to prompt the vote.
It's not going to go to committee. You don't want it to go to committee.
No, this is for the suspending the rules.
On suspending the rules.
You just say yes.
Everyone's good.
They'll say it, and then I'll refer it.
Oh, Commissioner Nelson?
They do.
Is this for the second one?
No, this is for this one.
We did.
It was a voice. You already-
Mr. Chair, you have 8 yeas, 12 nays.
Okay, the motion fails. Would you like to refer that to the Legislative Affairs and
Yes, I
Government
would.
Operations? Referred without objection.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll move to your next resolution.
Okay, my next one is because on August 10th, 2022, the board voted to put a .95 transit millage on the ballot, November 8th. There's no backup plan. If that fails, SMART is not going to have any funding. So this is just a backup plan. What I'm suggesting is we use ARPA funds. If it fails, we support SMART so seniors and veterans and those with disabilities will still have transportation. All it is a backup plan. It has nothing to do with
All right,
the ballot.
okay, so Commissioner, are you referring that to committee?
No,
Or-
I'd like to suspend the
You're
rules on
are you
that
making
one,
a
too.
motion to suspend the rules? Motion to suspend the rules, seconded by Joliet. Can we do a voice vote, or do you want to? All in favor of suspend the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Nays have it. Motion fails. Refer to committee.
All right, refer it to.
Shush. Shush.
Refer it to committee, please.
Pardon?
Please refer it to committee.
It's been referred
Thank
to,
you.
well, this one will probably refer to finance because you're talking about ARPA dollars. So referred to finance without objection.
Okay.
And then is it the last one? We have one more, excuse me. We have one more item, I believe. This is,
No, one more.
did we take up everything?
One more.
There's one more.
Yeah, school mental
This is
health.
the Oakland School, the Oakland School, excuse me. One more outburst, you'll be escorted out. You will not disrupt these proceedings. Thank you. Requesting suspension of the board rules for immediate consideration. This is the approval of the interlocal ARPA agreements for the Oakland County School Mental Health Grant. This is related to what we did from the ad hoc committee, what was just taken up by the ad hoc committee that met during our recess earlier. So Commissioner Lubes moves to suspend the rules to take this up. This is to complete them. This is the additional ones that weren't done at the original deadline and was updated. So the ones that weren't included in the original ones, this finishes it up. It's still part of the same $10 million. Moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Weipert to suspend the rules to take this up right now. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that the rules are suspended unanimously. Moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Weipert to adopt the resolution. Any discussion? Was that clear? Like this is just the few additional ones that didn't get their application in by the deadline, so that we can get them all these grants out to the local school districts as quickly as possible. All in favor, say no.
Board is open, they can vote.
Thank you. Prompt the vote. Clerk has prompted the vote. No,
we already suspended.
This is for approval of the resolution.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
It says vote requesting suspension of the board rules for immediate consideration. What are we voting on?
Yes, we are voting on item A. It's at the bottom of the list of new and miscellaneous business.
We are not voting on suspension.
We
of
are
the
not
rules.
voting on suspension of the rule. We
Okay,
did that by voice vote.
This says vote. That's incorrect.
That is incorrect.
Thank you.
Come up on your prompt. We are voting on the resolution. We're voting on the resolution to move to. We are voting on the resolution to approve the release of the funds per the request of this board to the school districts that came in after the first round of approving the grants.
Yes, and we already voice voted the suspension of the rules.
Correct.
Rules have been suspended. We are voting on the
Actual resolution, correct.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, yeah.
That's how it is on the agenda, so that's how it comes up.
We're so close. Shh. Ouch. Okay, that's fine. Yep, good.
Is Powell coming back or is she gone?
I think she had to leave. Yep, okay, we're good.
Okay.
Call it.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. I believe that covered all.
Just hit yes.
Nope. All of these have been done.
D was just done?
We've done D. Okay. Yep, everything's been done. Is there any, is there any additional new and miscellaneous business?
I got some ideas. Wait.
Hurry. Okay, seeing none, that will bring us to announcements. Any announcements? Commissioner Cavell.
I am like an hour late for a day job meeting, so I gotta go. Sorry, missing public comment. You should have. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. And now this will open up us to our second public comment of the evening. This allows an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on any topic on or off the agenda. And please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Direct your comments to me. Let's be respectful to everybody. Please just state your name and community. And I promised someone to be first, and then sadly, yes, it's not on this list. Welcome. Thank you for staying.
Thank you. I know that this is already passed, but what I want to do, I'm calling this is looking in your own backyard. Because when you spend your money, you really need to look at where your dollars are going. So the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab's net worth is 25 mil to 100 mil, according to these figures here. The WEF also has very high-profile companies that are part of the organization. They should be paying us, not Oakland County, to be part of the WEF. When we have companies here in Michigan, and this is where we need to look in our own backyards. We have SME, Society of Manufacturing Engineering, which they provide innovative training for manufacturers. We also have Society of Automotive Engineers. They do the same thing. And then another big one is Michigan Manufacturing Technology Centers. They do mentoring. They work with companies here in Michigan. These companies are already here. Plus we have the colleges. So why do we have to pay out $3 million to support WEF programs when we should be supporting Michigan organizations? So thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate it. And everyone have a great day. And again, let's pray for Florida. They really need our thoughts and prayers right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Sandra Raman.
I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on with your electric cars. First of all, we're going to take note, Mr. Commissioner, that you are hiding things on your voting today that was not on the docket. You may have added it the last minute just to show that it was on the docket, but it was not found an hour and a half ago. So let me read you about electric cars. Just so you guys, Automation Alley and Michigan can understand what's happening with electric cars. The true cost embracing EVs. What is a battery? I think Tesla said it best when they called it emergency storage system. That's important. Rechargeable batteries do not make electricity. They store electricity producing everywhere, primarily by coal, uranium, natural gas, power plants, diesel fuel generators. So to say an electric vehicle, EV, is a zero emission vehicle is not at all valid. Also, since 40% of electricity generated in the U.S. is from a coal-fired plant, it follows that 40% of the EVs on the road are all coal-powered. It takes the same amount of energy to move a 5,000-pound gasoline-driven automobile a mile as it does an electric one. The only question again is, what produces that power? To reiterate, does not come from the battery. The battery is only a charged device, like gas tank in a car. There are two orders of batteries, rechargeable and single-use. The most common single-use batteries are AAA, AAA, CD, 9V, and late-turn types. Those dry cell species use zinc, magnesium, lithium, silver oxide, and zinc and carbon to store electricity chemically. Please note that they contain toxic heavy metals. Rechargeable batteries only differ in their internal materials, usually lithium, nickel metal oxide, and nickel cadmium. The United States uses 3 billion of these two batteries type a year. Most are not recyclable. They end up in landfills. California is the only state which requires all batteries to be recycled. If you throw your small batteries in a trash, here is what happens to them. All batteries are self-discharging. That means that even when not in use, they leak tiny amounts of energy. You have likely a flashlight and two-form old rupture battery. When the battery runs down low, no longer power or to a light, the leak is still dead. It still leaks. So to continue, a small leak amounts of electricity is all leaking with these batteries that you guys are pushing. As chemicals inside run out, pressures build inside batteries in metal casing and eventually cracks. The metals of the left inside ooze out. The ooze in your ruined flashlight is toxic. So the ooze that is inevitably leaked from the battery in that landfill. All batteries eventually rupture. This takes I want to tell you, you're not going to let me finish, but there are amounts of fires. There's proof that in California,
Thank you. Excuse me. You're done. You're done. Thank you very much.
Not be put out by
All right,
water.
officers,
Your electric
please
cars
remove
are
the
gonna
person from the
burn
podium. You're
dry,
done.
and there's tons of houses. There's tons of houses
Thank
on
you.
fire now. That cannot be.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Kennedy, I assume you would like to come forward? Well, okay.
I just want to finish where she left off.
Okay.
Again,
You
my
state
name
your name again and.
My name is Kathleen O'Loughlin. I'm from Troy, Michigan. Picking up where she left off, in addition to dry cell batteries, there are also wet cell ones used in automobiles, boats, and motorcycles. The good thing about those is 90% of them are recycled. Unfortunately, we do not yet know how to recycle single-use ones properly. But that is not half of it. For those of you excited about electric cars and green revolution, I want you to take a closer look at batteries and windmills and solar panels. These three technologies share what we call environmentally destructive embedded costs. Everything manufacturing has two costs associated with it, embedded costs and operating costs. I'm not going to go into embedded costs, but it's everything that's put into a manufacturing of an item. Like they used a baked bean can. It takes farmers to farm the baked beans. It takes electricity or diesel fuel to truck it and manufacture it and everything. So there's a lot of costs that are involved in just manufacturing a single product. So the first cost of the diesel fuel. Next is the energy cost of cooking the baked beans, heating and transporting it, and the steel, what makes the steel to hold the can of beans. So a typical EV battery weighs 1,000 pounds, about the size of a travel trunk. It contains 25 pounds of lithium, 60 pounds of nickel, 44 pounds of manganese, manganese, 30 pounds of cobalt, 200 pounds of copper, and 400 pounds of aluminum, steel, and plastic. Inside are over 6,000 individual lithium cells. It should concern you that all these toxic components come from mining. For instance, to manufacture each EV auto battery, you must process 25,000 pounds of brine for lithium, 30,000 pounds of ore for cobalt, 5,000 pounds of ore for nickel, and 25,000 pounds of ore for copper. All told, you dig up 500,000 pounds of the Earth's crust for just one battery. 68% of the world's cobalt, a significant part of the battery, comes from the Congo. Their mines have no pollution controls, and they employ children who die from handling these toxic materials. Should we factor in these diseased kids as part of the cost of driving an electric car? I'd like to leave you with these thoughts. Well, I don't have enough time, but anyway, I think you get the point.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kennedy?
Catherine Kennedy, Lake Orion. So I'm going to kind of keep the theme because we are actually in a terrible situation with the environment because we're being told a bunch of big fat lies. The cobalt that she just mentioned, there was an American corporation in the Congo that somehow got sold to China. Do you know we had 400 acres in this recent auction of our Michigan land that contains the only nickel mine in Michigan that Talon Corporation bought? I looked them up. It's like 3 different companies, partnership, not all American. One of them's American. So and now I hear that Big Rapids, we have a Chinese battery developer. My goodness, the reason they built the batteries in China was not just the cost of labor, but because the contamination that's created by all this. And I am praying that it wasn't our DNR property that the state decided they should auction through the same erratic tax sale info website, auction website that any county that was foolish enough to digitize their data did their tax auctions with this online auction. You don't know who owns and buys your property. They had a simple white page of paper form and a credit card requirement for non-citizens to buy our real estate, foreclosed real estate. So all this time you've been talking about affordable housing, it's just a lie. You keep increasing the taxpayers' taxes, property taxes, to the extent that you can take the taxes. You even created a land bank for Oakland County. Oakland County should never have a land bank. Oh, and by the way, the FOIA data I was denied, they actually, Mr. Woodward, you would negotiate with the state for 50% of that for a tax abatement for Brownsfield, or whatever the word is that whoever cleans up the environment is what they're calling it. But how is that affordable for any citizens that you're raising their taxes to take their property, throw it into the land bank, and then you have an attainable housing trust that was created in February, but only recently did the ARPA rules change that it looks like they might have written them to accommodate you retroactively. I guess that's the thing they do around here. You can retroactively figure out what you're going to do with money you approved last year, like you did on the infrastructure in May and April. I was shocked. No history, no detail. Oh, but by the way, we approved it last year at the 9/29/21 meeting when we actually inserted an extra meeting in August 31st to cover those items. Oh, and they seem to be recurring and coming back again. How is that even possible? Because you managed to cram so many pages in 18 hours or whatever time you choose. Today we didn't even have the last 4 items that were the most controversial. So it seems you're using the full and fair disclosure it's the opposite again here.
Ms.
Thank you.
In case the public is watching that and thought that for some reason we raised taxes for a land bank, that's not true. We didn't negotiate anything that raised taxes to pay for brownfield development. We didn't, almost everything that was presented there. The only thing, people who are against renewable energies, I love my solar on my house. I want a battery because I won't need a generator, but it's a little expensive for me right now. I know my friends who have electric cars, they love their electric cars, and I look forward to being part of a conversation to advance electrification here in Oakland County. With that, we will end this meeting, adjourned to October 20th, 2022, or at call of the chair. Thank you very much.